Tax is a compulsory contribution made by the citizens to the state revenue, usually levied by the government on workers' income as well as business profits, or even added to the cost of some goods, services, and transactions compiled by a commission for the proper running of the government and provision of public infrastructures. The rate of tax levied on the citizens considerably differ among countries, and to a great extent, it is subject to the level of interest in building a better community. While some countries have no income tax at all, other countries are taxed heavily by their government. In this video, we shall be taking a look at the top 10 countries with the highest tax rates in the world based on corporate tax ratio. Let's begin. 10. Finland. Finland is reputed to have one of the most elevated tax rates globally. The nation has a progressive tax system, which implies that individuals with higher incomes contribute a greater proportion of their earnings taxes. The funds generated from taxes are utilized to support various social welfare programs, such as universal health care, education, and social security. While the tax rate can be a burden for some, many Finns view it as a fair trade-off for the benefits provided by the social welfare system. Furthermore, Finland frequently ranks among the world's happiest and wealthiest nations, demonstrating that the high tax rate has not reduced the standard of living. Overall, Finland's high tax rate is a reflection of the nation's strong commitment to social welfare and belief in the value of funding citizen well-being. 9. Ivory Coast. One of the nations with the highest tax rates in the world is the Ivory Coast, a nation situated in West Africa. Based on the type of income or transaction, the Ivory Coast government levies hefty taxes on both individuals and corporations that range from 0% to 60%. The country's tax system is complex and has been criticized for being burdensome and inefficient, which has led to a high level of tax evasion and informal economic activity. Despite the challenges of the tax system, the government of Ivory Coast has taken steps to reform its tax laws and improve tax compliance. This includes the implementation of electronic tax filing and payment systems, as well as efforts to simplify the tax code and reduce the administrative burden on taxpayers. As a result, the country's tax revenue has increased in recent years, which has helped to fund public services and infrastructure development. 8. Jamaica. With a corporate tax rate of 33.3%, Jamaica is one of the countries with the highest tax rates in the world. Jamaica also ranks as the third most populous Anglophone country in the Americas and fourth in the Caribbean. It borders with Cuba and others with an economy reliant on very low export and GDP. It has about 2.8 million people in population and relies mostly on tourism to drive its economy. Jamaica is one of the countries with a very high personal income tax as well as sales tax on small and medium enterprises. The brunt is borne even more by the corporate entities who are made to comply with an over 33.3% tax rate. 7. Venezuela. Venezuela is one of the countries with the highest tax rates in the world. In fact, the country has a corporate tax rate of 34%. The country is one of the oil-producing states that has been riddled with mismanagement of funds as well as bad governance. Venezuela has an estimated population of about 29 million. However, the country is plunged into economic crises with shortages of basic goods, unemployment, poverty, disease, high child mortality, malnutrition, severe crime, and corruption to mention a few. The country has been recorded to have a weak economy and high infrastructural deficit. That notwithstanding, the government has continued to make efforts to stay afloat by imposing high-level log tax on its citizens. Ranging from the personal income tax up to the corporate tax, it is quite disproportionate to the level of development recorded in the country to prove the proper management of the taxpayers' money. 6. Equatorial Guinea. With a corporate tax rate of 35%, Equatorial Guinea is one of the countries with the highest tax rates in the world. Equatorial Guinea has become one of sub-Saharan Africa's largest oil producers in recent time. Although one of the countries with high taxation, it seemed to have subsequently become the richest African country per capita. Very notably is the country's GDP that is well adjusted for purchasing power parity, ranking 43rd in the world, which is very impressive for an African country. With all these success stories, however, it remains a fact that the country's wealth is not evenly spread, and these has continued to push for more ways to keep feeding the power holders. Taxation in Guinea is quite high, though infrastructures seem to be planted, but at a very low level, the tax rate remains high. The country records a stride in its human capital development but has maintained its position as one of the countries with the highest tax rate in the world. 5. Colombia. Colombia is also one of the countries with the highest tax rates. The country charges up to 35% from corporations. Colombia is a country in South America with a population of about 50 million. It is a relatively poor country dependent on subsistence agriculture and small-scale export to run the economy. The country is known for its tax rate that is seemingly high and disproportionate to the level of tax imposed on the citizens. The Colombian government charges 14% on sales and personal income tax, as well as over 20% for businesses and over 35% for corporate organizations. Interestingly, the level of development on basic social infrastructures like schools, roads, and hospitals doesn't have a corresponding equation with the level of taxation going on. Colombia remains one of the countries with the highest tax rate in the world. 4. Malta. Malta has a corporate tax rate of 35%, which is one of the highest tax rates in the world. Malta is a country with a population of about 516,000 within a relatively small area. It is a small sovereign nation within the European Union and one of the countries with high level of taxation on both the small and medium income earners, up to the corporate income tax for corporations. The country's tax rate is quite high compared to the level of developmental projects executed. The rationale behind the disproportionate taxation seemed to be an imbalance in governance and financial appropriation by the ruling class. However, it marks the state as one of the countries with the highest tax rate in the world. 3. Benin. With a corporate tax rate of 35%, Benin has one of the highest tax rates in the world. Benin is a French-speaking West African country with an economy reliant on small-scale export of agricultural produce and minimal manufacturing capacity. The country continues to rank high on the tax rate index with an elevated tax rate on small and medium-scale industries, food and household items, as well as income tax for workers. However, this high tax rate is quite worrisome due to the deficit in infrastructural development in the country. 2. Suriname. Suriname is a country situated on the northeastern Atlantic coast of South America, and it has a corporate tax rate of 36%, which is the second highest in the world. The country being a relatively small nation with low population and high income tax as well as corporate tax rate has not reflected a more positive infrastructural development to equate to high level of taxation in the country. Known for its small-scale export, Suriname has to rely more on levies and high income tax to run the system with poor infrastructural development. Nevertheless, the country remains one of the countries with the highest tax rate in the world. Brazil. With a corporate tax rate of 40%, the tax policy in Brazil can be likened to one that is quite strict and executory. The developmental ratio when compared to the tax rate may not be completely justified as being contemporaries or proportionate, but it cannot be disregarded that the government seemed to be making quite a number of effort to up the infrastructural development in order to equate it with the tax ratio. It is quite interesting how the tax rate in Brazil kept rising following the constitutional support for over 40% tax on corporations and about 15 to 27% on income and sales tax in the country. From all indications, Brazil seemed to be on the top of the chart in recent times as one of the countries with the highest tax rates. So, there you have it, viewers. The top 10 countries with the highest tax rates. Don't forget to give this video a like, and make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, so you don't miss any of our future uploads. Thanks for watching this one, catch you all in the next.